Do you sell products? If so, how and where do you sell your products? Today's discussion is going to be on how to sell and market your products that you make. My name is Jen, and if you're new here, welcome to Sugary Tie-Dye. This is today's business chat. So I believe the first and probably one of the most important aspects to selling your products is to know your customer. What types of people buy your products? As for tie-dye, I wouldn't say that it's always quote-unquote hippies or stoners, because I do get a lot of different people, but that is the stereotypical market for selling tie-dye. So that makes a difference as to where I'm going to sell my items and how I'm going to sell them. Another factor to consider is, where does your customer shop? Do they buy your items at, say, farmers markets? Are you selling produce? If so, they would buy your item at a farmer's market. Would they buy your item at a craft fair? Would they buy your item at street festivals or music festivals? So those are all different markets. Music festivals, if you sell something that would be an interest to patrons that go to music, that would be an interest. And as I said, farmers markets. So if you are selling produce, if you're a farmer, farmers markets are great because generally they run every week, and you would get the same repeat customers coming back to buy your product every week because they're going on their regular weekly grocery run. So that also falls into the lines of what events you should do. You could also look into seasonal events if your product is more of a seasonal type of a product, and themed events. A lot of farmers markets, although there are some these days that do have indoor farmers markets in the winter, although not very many people are growing produce in the winter here. Farmers markets a lot of times are seasonal. There's a lot of craft fairs and markets outdoors in the summer. Themed events such as street fairs and music festivals. 4th of July events. Labor Day, Memorial Day, those type of events tend to attract a lot of people of various sorts. So those might be a good place to sell your product. Another aspect to looking at when you're thinking about doing events is the cost. So the event will generally charge a fee to be a vendor. Depending on the size of the event and the scope of it, it could range anywhere between, say, $10 and $150 or even more. I've paid more for 3-day events. I found that the larger and more publicized events that are longer, like multiple days, those have a tendency to have quite a larger fee than, say, a 1-day event or an event that's a part of a day. And say at a smaller venue, that would be less of a cost. Another cost to take into consideration is insurance. Do you need insurance for the event that you're planning on going to? A lot of events will request an additional certificate naming them as additionally insured. Your insurance company will then list them as additionally insured, so the entity or the promoter or whoever it is doing the event, the facility, is covered in case something happens. You can get some insurances that include a few additional certificates. Anything above and beyond what they include in their cost will be an extra charge for you. My insurance company charges $10 for extra certificates. Another cost to be aware of when you're planning to go to an event is the cost of travel. So you're gonna have gas, whatever it's gonna take to get there. Another thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is their time. The time it takes to get to the event, the time it takes to load your vehicle at your house, the time it takes to unload your vehicle at the event and set up and all that, and your time hanging out there. That is something that a lot of people don't take into account. I generally don't take that into account, even though essentially going to an event is going to be an all-day commitment for me. The cost you can see is the cost of gas to get there. So another question is, can you sell your product in stores? Or can you sell them online? Or is there another outlet to sell your product? If you know of local stores that you can get your product into, that might be a very good solution to having to go out and do events every weekend. I am looking into, and hopefully I'll do a couple videos in the future about how I'm going to be working on getting my items into stores. I'm going to be interested in getting them on a commission or a consignment basis as opposed to selling wholesale. Now, selling online, you could do an Etsy store, you could do a Facebook store. The Facebook store is free. Etsy does charge. I had done Etsy when I first started doing tie-dye in 2019, and Etsy didn't go so great for me. I don't remember how easy it was to put my products up on the store. I believe I had to do them individually. When I did a Facebook store, I had to do them individually as well. And also there were errors that kept coming up when I was doing my Facebook store that I had to resolve before the item was published. I ended up not selling anything through my Facebook store, and Etsy, I don't think I had Etsy for a year. I think I only sold one tiny item from Etsy. So be aware that online might not work for you. You might have to find a way to market more to your online store. I have not tried selling items on Square. I do have currently a Square website. I believe you can sell items on Square. I don't know if it attaches to your Facebook store or not. I would like to not, if I can have it do that. I have seen other people do Square stores, but I kind of find that my items are better when they're sold in person. People like to see the item in person. They like to touch it and feel it, and make sure it's something that is actually going to fit them and will look good. So for my product, an online presence is not exactly the type of market that I want to sell to. So I come to my final point, which is, how many events do you want to do? Vending is tiring. It involves loading your vehicle at your house, going to the event, unloading at the event, setting up at the event, standing around and chatting with everybody that walks by. I feel that it's quite important to say hi to everybody that walks by. People, you can have the brightest, boldest product out there, and people will put blinders on and walk by your booth. If you say hi to everybody, you at least have a chance that 50% of them will stop and chat with you, say hi, how you doing, oh, I like your product, blah, blah, blah. 25% of those people will actually buy an item from you. So you increase your chances of selling your product by acknowledging customers, saying hi as they walk by, as opposed to burying your face in your phone. So that in itself is extremely tiring to do that for, say, 5 or 6 hours. Then when you're done all of that, you have to pack up, you load your vehicle back up, go back home, then unload your vehicle, which you'll know how much work it is depending on what you have for product, how heavy your product is, how easy it is to get in and out of places. It's quite tiring. And then at some point in time, you're going to have to do an inventory too. Whether you do an inventory at the end of the day at your event, or if you do an inventory later on when you're at home, it's got to be done sometimes, because you got to make sure what you're going to be making. Generally, I keep a list of every single item that I sell for tax purposes, so an inventory is not necessarily hard for me to do, but there are instances when I have multiple customers at a time and they're buying multiple things. I'm not exactly looking at the tag to see if it's a large shirt or a medium shirt. I'm just writing down, that it's a short sleeve shirt and it's $25. So, I try to keep track of what sizes and everything that sells, but sometimes it can be not effective to do that when you have multiple people trying to buy things at the same time. So, to go over my points again, number 1, know your customer, who's going to be buying your product. Number 2, where does your customer shop? Number 3, what events should you do? Number 4, the cost of your event. What is the cost to do an event? Number 5, can you get your products on other platforms such as physical stores or online presence? And then number 5 is, how many events do you really want to do? So think about those. Think about those things. It's very much something that you should consider if you're going to be selling things. And if you're making product and having a business, you're going to be selling something. So in order to sell and make a profit, these are things that should definitely be looked into. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please put them in the comment section below. And I thank you for tuning in. Again, my name is Jen, and this is Sugar E Tie-Dye.